Call the special board of trustees meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call.
Colbrady.
Here.
Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
Parks.
Here.
Lynn. Oliver.
Here.
Metzger.
Here.
All right, we've got two meetings tonight. This is the special board of trustees meeting. We'll have a study session immediately following. In that context, is there any public comment on the special board meeting? Hearing none, we'll move to the regular agenda. Ordinance 190701, ordinance authorizing the issuance of general obligation limited tax notes, series 2019, to finance the acquisition of real estate for the village of Mahomet, Champaign County, Illinois, and providing the details of such notes and the limited and others. Joe, I think you're taking this, or?
I certainly can. This is the bond ordinance, if you will, the financing ordinance. This approves, if you approve this tonight, the borrowing of $400,000 from UC Bank. UC Bank submitted the lowest proposal as far as interest rates and repayment schedule. This is a tax exempt issuance. It's not backed by any hard collateral like a mortgage, but it is backed by the full faith and credit of the municipality and the village of Mahomet. I'm happy to entertain any further questions.
Anything else to add, Robert?
The rate that we were able to achieve with this with BC Bank was 1.88% APR.
Unbelievable.
The repayment schedule is 5 years. There's no prepayment penalty, so if we wanted to pay that off early, we could. If we wanted to take the full 5 years, we could do that.
All right. Ordinance has been prepared, it's in the packet. Any questions from the trustees? Entertain a motion to approve 190701.
So moved.
Johnson and Lynn, motion is made and second. Any public comment on ordinance 190701? Hearing none, roll call.
Colbrady.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
Parks.
Yes.
Lynn.
Yes.
Oliver.
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
All right, I already mentioned we have a study session after this. I'll defer new business to that as well. Entertain a motion to adjourn the special board of trustees meeting.
Second.
Parks and Metzger, roll call.
Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
Parks.
Yes.
Lynn.
Yes.
Oliver.
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
Colbrady.
Yes.
Thank you.
You are quick in that. All right, I'll call the study session to order. Roll call, please.
Colbrady.
Here.
Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
Parks.
Yep.
Lynn.
Yes, ma'am.
Oliver.
Here.
Metzger.
Here.
All right, we're in our study session. Any public comment or comments, anything on the agenda? All right, hearing none, we'll move into ordinances, resolutions, and other items for actions. Finance Department.
The treasurer's report, we should be showing approximately 16.67% of revenues and expenditures. Currently, revenues are at 15.21% collected, expenditures are at 8.42. We typically expect a higher percentage of revenues collected due to real estate taxes. However, due to the delay in Champaign County government getting property tax bills out and thus the receipts for property tax payments, those distributions to local municipalities and taxing bodies were delayed. We've received 2 distributions so far, both were substantially smaller than what we'd expect to receive at this point in the year. Fortunately, that does not impact our cash flows in a negative way. At this point, we expect that to pick up pretty quickly in the following months. Attached to the report containing state distributions. So far, we're seeing an increase of $50,317 over last year. Recently added to this report is also graphs that illustrate the trends for various revenue streams in the state distribution category. The two real estate tax distributions that were received totaled $500,614. Typically, we would be making distributions to our taxing bodies in our TIF districts through that. However, the Champaign County, as you may be aware, has instituted DevNet, which is a new computer system. They aren't able to provide us the reports of parcels and which parcels have paid and which parcels haven't. I just got a report from their head IT guy yesterday that seems promising. I've run the numbers, and hopefully next month we'll be able to get those distributions for the pass-throughs to the school district, the library, the fire protection districts, all the other taxing bodies. Right now, I just want to get another set of eyes on and make sure my calculations are correct. The annual financial audit is still in process, even though the auditors are no longer on site. They had some great things to say about our organization while they're here. If you didn't have an opportunity to talk to them, I can put you in contact with them if you need to talk to them, or if you just want to chat, get an outside perspective one-on-one with what our financial outlook and picture is. Any questions on the treasurer's report?
When do we anticipate the report?
The audit report is usually done by the end of August. Their IMRF issued some amended accounting statements for the pension fund, so that may delay it a week or two.
All right, any questions on the treasury report? Okay, motion to move it to consent.
So moved.
Second. Metzger and Lynn, any public comment? Hearing none, roll call.
Harps,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Collier. Metzger,
Yes.
Kohlrabi,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
Bill list.
So on the bill list, we're trying to wind down the additional bills. As I mentioned earlier, tip distributions to other taxing bodies. If I can get confirmation on the report that I got from the county and distributing those checks to other taxing bodies, I received directive from the administrator on adding this to the final bill list for the regular board of trustees meeting. However, at this time, we don't expect too many additional bills to be added.
Any questions for Robert on the bill list? You entertain a motion to move it to consent?
So moved. Second.
Roche and Johnson, any public comment? Roll call.
Lynn,
Yeah.
Collier,
Yes.
Metzger,
Yes.
Kohlrabi,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
Harps.
Yes.
All right, moving on to Parks and Rec, resolution authorizing the purchase of a playground equipment from Game Time, Fair Play and Recreation in the amount of not to exceed $26,000. I saw it earlier, but there he is.
I'm coming, I get my stuff here. So Brooks Warfel Park is the park. I got some show and tell here. Actually, I'll just give them. Yeah, good, thanks Patrick. It's also on the TV screen as well. Brooks Warfel Park, current playground structure, was built in 1994. The average lifespan of the playground is about 15 to 20 years. So you guys can do the math. It's tired, it's wore out. When pieces break, they're hard to find, and if you find them, it's very expensive. The end of our tube slide, as an example, broke. Whether it was vandalism or otherwise, it broke. A lot of the sunlight really beats down on those plastic parts, but just about a 2-foot in section costs about $500. So playgrounds aren't cheap. Commercial playgrounds, and when they're wore out, they're harder to fix. So and keep safe. So it's time. That's why I bring this to your attention. We're looking for approval to purchase new equipment for Brooks Warfel Park. That's our park, just catty corner from where we're at right here. This park has a long history in the village, primarily as a tot lot. What's that mean to laymen? it's basically 2 to 5 year olds. So it's unique in that regard in Mahomet because there really isn't any other playground that really kind of dedicated to toddlers. It's heavily used, very residential, but also the proximity to the schools and the downtown corridor and Main Street keeps it pretty busy throughout the year. So we've prioritized this playground and this park as a renovation project, of which you guys approved through your budget process. So there's going to be some renovations going on down there, subject to your approval. This is one of the steps, is the playground structure itself. We basically, staff, myself, met with several playground vendors, received a lot of proposals. Our goal was to basically maintain the 2 to 5 year old priority with this play structure, but also incorporate some new modern amenities, I'll call them, while also keeping it accessible and inclusive for all. So I don't know, some of you guys grew up here, Mom. I don't know the history of this as well as you probably do, but somebody told me once there was a merry-go-round in this park. We kind of tried to go retro there and bring a merry-go-round amenity to the park. And it's an accessible merry-go-round. So that's kind of a new feature to the park that you don't see now. You don't see the digger there. The digger will be part of the park, even though it's not on your sketch. That's probably the most popular amenity in the park. We're not losing the digger, even though it's not shown. There's also a really cool feature that's going to be completely unique to town, if y'all approve, and that's the Mom and Me swing. You can't really see it well on that picture, but basically the toddler sits in a normal top swing, but the mom is right across, or dad. I know I would appreciate it when my kids were little. It's just a unique experience. It's very cool, it's very popular. It's a trend, but it's a trend that won't go away. So that's a unique feature that we're adding. The swing set that you see that looks green will be painted to match. However, that's the existing swing set. We're not going to replace that. There's nothing wrong with it, no need to replace it. We've replaced all the swings over the years, so they're in good shape. We will assess the chains. They're getting a little worn and tired, but the structure itself is very good for the swing set. So anyway, I'm going way off the record here on this, or off the memo, but basically what you're looking at, we did have kind of an informal group of moms and some dads that were Mahomet residents primarily that we pulled on different designs and proposals, and this is where we came. What you're seeing here is about $5,000 cheaper than some comparable proposals that we looked at. We feel really good about the amenities. We didn't want to expand the area because we don't have a lot of room there, obviously. But we definitely didn't want to lose features from our last structure. So you have same number of slides, basically the same amount of activities, plus there's a couple more in the merry-go-round, the swing set feature. And within the structure itself, it doesn't show well, but there is like a storefront feature underneath. It's not shown on that picture, but kind of a little play area, that you can imagine that you're at the store and you're serving out the window or drive-through or what have you. So again, a top feature that's not shown on there, but otherwise what you see is what you get there on this one. This is part of the Omnia joint purchasing that I brought to you last month for this very reason. We save nearly $5,000 being a part of that group. Otherwise, we don't see that savings. So. All the major manufacturers that I spoke with and received proposals for are also part of that group. So we were comparing basically apples to apples in terms of the proposals that we received. I'm very happy with the budget. I think the resolution that you're seeing and voting on tonight or sending on down the road to consent agenda or otherwise is actually under that 26,000 not to exceed. I knew I was going to be under that, but I wasn't sure on specific numbers. The proposal that you have in front of you that I handed out, Patrick could bring it up. I didn't hand you that, and I can do that and provide that to you, but it's 24 953.10 for everything. Now, we will, this is part of a multi-stage renovation. This is just one part of it. We want to add mulch, obviously. We're gonna do a border, a better border, remove the current timber border that's basically decayed and rotten out. And we're gonna do some major landscaping removal. There's really no landscaping, it's just rocks with weeds. If we're being honest, we're gonna clean up all of that. So there's some other things. I hope to reach out to the Lions Club, I've already done that. But more formally, they did the pavilion originally in 1970 something. I'm gonna reach out to them to see if they can help remodel the pavilion and upgrade it. The roof's a little rough. The wood's worn, the paint job's bad, so I'm gonna reach out to them. I think they're very receptive, at least the one Lions Club member I talked to. So I'm gonna go to one of their meetings and hopefully get some volunteer help with that. We also hope to build the playground with volunteers and some staff. So we'll have a build day that I expect to see everyone at if you approve this, if they're available and around. But we feel pretty good about this structure. You guys have any questions, concerns, comments, anything at all?
Looking for volunteers, it sounds like a good scout project to me.
We have got a Girl Scout that's already shown interest, Major Pinrose actually,
Yeah.
that's offered help, so I'll make sure she knows about it.
Yeah.
We had scouts at Prior Leash, didn't we?
We did, we built a private leash playground with scouts and volunteers, and also, for Johnson, every playground since I've been here has involved scouts. So, Greg Johnson as well.
What's your timeline on the remaining improvements?
So, if you approve this project, or this section of the project, it's about a 4 to 8 week turnaround until we receive the components. So, we'll work off of that timeline when I know for sure. But basically, I expect that we will be done and out of there by September. It's a little tricky. We would, originally, I hoped to have it done before Mahomet Music Fest, but that's not gonna be feasible, just based on the production time of the playground equipment. So basically, we need to remove the playground, current playground. We do have an under drain system that we need to repair before we put the new in. We'll put the new in, as soon as we get it, hopefully within a couple weeks. So I'll call it mid-August, and then we'll do the rest probably late August, September. So I'm hoping by mid-September, end of September, we'll have basically a new look altogether at the park.
And we take the rest, the mulch, the timbers.
The most, the curb, a lot of the curb, what we expect to do is a concrete curb, and an approach that's concrete, clean, maintenance-free, also incorporate some landscaping components, some new furniture, benches, trash cans that match. I hope to coordinate, I've talked to Patrick about this, but also coordinate with Kelly and everyone on the Main Street Initiative to coordinate some of that theme into this park, because it is part of downtown, in terms of the furniture and the look. So all of those touches, I guess, will be September.
Why are you doing mulch as opposed to pebbles?
As opposed to which?
Pebbles.
You know what, pebbles are not accessible, number one, and they're very dirty for the kids. They're they get stuck in your knees. They're just not standard. You either basically, nowadays,
Mulch is standard.
wood fiber is the cheapest of the standards. So your options are wood fiber, which is basically they put it through a process to remove, it's basic mulch. They remove all of the metals that happen with pallets and things like that. So it's a little bit more costly than your everyday mulch you go to the store to get. It's special playground mulch. Then your next option is rubber mulch. With all of it's a low area. Our drains, even when we fix them, I'm not confident that the water situation in this area is great. So that rubber mulch will float and go down the street. If we don't have that fixed. Now the wood will too to a certain degree, but it doesn't seem to be as bad. So and it's a little bit more pricey. The next step, another option is poured in place. Super duper expensive. And when we look at doing something, it's the best, right? But you can quadruple the budget for the project on Gordon Place. And I think, I told somebody else this when I was thinking about it, I think as a village, consider building your house from scratch. If you're gonna build a new house, where do you put all your money? You put your money in your kitchen and your bathroom, right? Because that's where you get a return on investment. I'm not saying Brooks Warfel is not important, but it's better. If we're gonna do Board in Place, I really think that's the Barber Park. That's the more, community parks that we wanna do that, expenditures in.
How often do you have to remulch, and is that a budgeted number?
It is, we do it now, we should do it every 2 years, occasionally we stretch it to 3, and we regret it. So we do budget for every 2, we just started that a couple of years ago. And then we, of course, every year we have to add here and there, kind of the swings, at the end of the slide. We just did Brent Johnson Bridge last couple of weeks. And it's been 2 years, and they needed it. 2 years is a stretch in some years.
And the entire amount budgeted was 55,000 in your budget, right?
Correct.
Entire project.
Correct.
And you're still confident it'll come in under that budget?
Yeah, very.
Tell me about ADA components.
Yeah, so there's several features and activities at a ground level.
Okay.
The merry-go-round itself is ADA accessible.
How so?
There's features that you can't see.
That's why I'm asking,
Yeah, so there's the storefront panel, which
Okay.
it is what it is. It's not great, not fun, but that's a feature that's ground level. And there's at least 2 other components, and I'll have to look on.
How's the merry-go-round accessible?
Excuse me?
You said the merry-go-round is.
Well,
Does it accommodate a wheelchair on the merry-go-round?
it's not fully accessible, but with assistance, it's, yeah.
Okay.
But no, in terms of an actual wheelchair, no.
Okay.
You can't.
Because I've seen something like that.
Right. Yeah, those, we looked at things like that, and you really have to go to that Board in Place surface, for that. And because of, it's basically bolted to concrete, and it's a whole structure within the structure. And that's an option that we can entertain, it's just, it is costly.
Sure.
Other ground features. Sorry, I'm looking. There's something called a single thunder ring, which is basically an activity that makes you sound. We have it at Brent Johnson Park. Again, 2 to 5-year-olds will get a kick out of it. There's that. There's a storefront enclosure. That might be the 2 big ones at ground level that I'm seeing right this second.
Without, I don't mean to get too off track here, but you know this is something that's near and dear to my heart. We've talked about this stuff before. Do any of our playgrounds and our equipment have accessibility like something out at Ambucks Park where a kid can roll a wheelchair up onto the playground equipment or anything like that? None of our current stuff does. How about a swing that's a little bit larger to take a somewhat larger child that might have a disability and some mobility or what have you issues?
Sure.
Do we have any of those?
It's parent need, as long as they have help getting into the parent part of the swing, that would be good. But as far as rolling that actual wheelchair onto the swing, we do not have that in the village park system.
Okay, but what about a larger swing for someone who does have a little bit more mobility, but just needs a bigger swing and might need some seatbelt straps, whatever, in it? There are things for larger children with some mobility issues.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely, and I
Do we
think
have
the
anything like
parent
that?
need could meet that. I'll have to look to see if
Okay.
it has any seatbelts, type safety things
Yeah.
that are, can be included, or
Restraints.
maybe they are. I don't know, I'll have to get back to you on that. But it's obviously built for adults.
Yeah.
So it would accommodate a large child. But as far as the seatbelt or the restraint, I'm not sure if it comes with it or if it's an option, but I can find out.
Okay.
Remind me if,
Ron, in the overall planning with the Barber Park, I know that's down in the future, but didn't
Yeah.
that have a pretty large ADA section?
Well, yeah, the plan is that Barber Park would be where that's the kitchen, right? That's where we try to make it the most inclusive, and it's the bigger playground. It accommodates not just 2 to 5, but 5 to 12. And you guys are gonna be hearing about that. I'm glad you kind of said it. Very soon, we're gonna apply for an OSLAD. The OSLAD grant program is open currently, and we're going to apply for that phase that includes the playground, and other components of that master plan that you guys approved. So that's where, we can try to put more money into that. Number one, it's our largest park. It's centered to the community, and we can match, if we can match grant dollars 50-50, we can really stretch our dollars. So that'd be a great opportunity to be even more inclusive at that spot. And that's when I would prefer that we bring in professionals, not Dan Wallner, to design a playground.
Yeah.
We bring in somebody that knows what we need. So that's how I would like to see that happen and shape up. But you guys are in charge. If you want to see more accessible components here, you just let me know. But I'll tell you, there's only 2 parking spaces right now, and it's gravel. So we've got to really rethink the entire park to make it truly accessible, and that's okay. But I think our money would be better spent where we have those facilities already. And Barber Park is accessible with the parking, with the sidewalks already. So we're just gonna improve that, I think, if we go that route. But again, you guys are in charge.
Well, you know, it's something I want to see going forward when we look at these things, and it can be done, because just take a look at Ambulance Park.
Yeah.
This is fantastic, and there's nothing more heartbreaking seeing a bunch of kids running around with playground equipment and another child who's sitting in a wheelchair because he can't go up there with them.
You bet.
And that's what's amazing about that park, is they can get right up there with their friends.
That's awesome.
So that's something I'd like to see you keep in mind as we go forward. You've got my support on that.
You bet. Any other questions, concerns?
Hearing none, entertain motion to move this resolution to the consent agenda. Parks and Housing. Motion been made and seconded. Any public comment? Roll call.
Lynn,
Yes.
Oliver.
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
Carson.
Yep. Thank you, Dan. We look forward to the improvements.
You bet.
All right, engineering resolution awarding the 2019 crack sealing project to Freehill Asphalt Incorporated for the amount of $61,100.
Nothing too exciting, had 2 bids and one bid was a half a cent per foot lower than the other. So Freehill's who did it the last couple of years, and we've been happy with their performance. The subdivisions that are getting sealed are the rest of Country Ridge, didn't get done last year, Whisper Meadow, Division Street, that's our only asphalt street that we're doing. And I'll just tell you right now, because you'll notice it, we are putting a Band-Aid on some places. Because, I got some estimates from Cross, because they're coming to town to do asphalt work over here on East Main to try to address some of those really rutted, broke up areas. And I had $10,000 to spend, and they gave me an estimate for 22, so I said, okay, we're not doing it, and we're just gonna basically crack seal the heck out of it, just put a Band-Aid on for now. And then hopefully, in the next couple of years, I can do an asphalt contract. That's exciting. Winwood, it's been kind of overlooked, so we got that one on there. Summit Ridge, the Jennifer and Evergreen Courts in Timber Ridge, Pamela Drive, and Quail Run. Those are-
On Summit Ridge, seal crack, they do that with black asphalt crack? Because that's an
Hot
as,
board.
That's a concrete road.
Yeah, the hot poured sealer we do for all the concrete roads.
Okay.
If it's a crack, it gets routed and sealed, and if it's just a joint, then it just gets cleaned and sealed. And I've already talked to Jimmy about, spraying weeds, because there's a lot.
Did we fill the two big holes that was on Summit Ridge now? Or did the township do that prior to being, I don't remember when that was filled. There was two big holes there.
I mean, I know there's some patching gonna be coming in the future.
Someone patched it already, I was wondering if that was us.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know about that.
Because there was two big holes.
So, I guess, is there any questions on that?
Is this one where we have a maximum contract amount, we just do as many feet as possible?
Yeah, well,
Or do you,
Is that how
or is there a
it is?
list inclusive?
We budgeted 65,000.
I budgeted 60.
We're just doing a good job estimating.
Well, no, I'm saying in years past, we've done the same thing, you got in the field, you do a little bit more, and like, okay, then, so one street or something doesn't get done, that's good, you know.
So I expect everything to get done that's in the plan. I know last year Eric had it, where we had a couple of other subdivisions, if we could make that money stretch to those locations, that's kind of like why half of Country Ridge got done, not the other half. But this year, my next, like, two logical locations to move to were too large, and I couldn't, like, squeeze them in here, so I thought, we'll just do these, and next year we'll do those. So I just approached it a little bit differently, we're just spending
The first year, 2 times ago, was the year that we, left a lot on the table. Because we, first time working with this type of contractor, and it just didn't go as far as we thought, once they started filling cracks, basically. But last year, this year has been much, should be much better.
Unfortunately, the unit price from last year was way better than this year. And I'm not really sure why. But we had two bidders within a half a cent of each other, so.
Okay, any questions for Ellen on crack sealing? Entertain a motion to move this resolution to the consent agenda.
Second.
Lynn and Nicole Reedy, motion made, second, any public comment? Hearing none, roll call.
Oliver,
Yes.
Metzger,
Yes.
Colreagan,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes, ma'am.
Parks,
Yes.
and Lynn.
Yes. All right.
Can I ask a question? I thought, I had put a paper in there for like a little placeholder for my sidewalk bid that opened today, but it's not on there. Can I just pass these out to you guys?
It'll be directly on the agenda next week.
Yes, no
But you wanna just talk about it?
I mean, can I pass it out? Sure. It was kind of interesting. I was a little worried about it, I thought I was gonna end up telling you I didn't wanna award it, because I had like, didn't have as many plan holders, and that only 3 bids came in. One of them was $65,000, and this is a $25,000 budget, which I was just like, wow. But we got 2 bids that were under budget, but one of them we had to reject because it was not a complete bid. So I did encourage that guy to bid in the future because his prices were very good. So this will be it for approval on the next. Copies here, and extras. Me. So that's all, that's just FYI.
So what's the little bidder?
The low bidder is A&A Asphalt, Concrete, and actually, because I've never heard of them, or I've never had work with them. So he said, oh, I do lots of work in the city of Champaign, you can call and ask for a reference. So I called Dave Clark, the city engineer, and he says, yeah, they do lots of good work, and they do a lot of these little projects just like this. So we recommend them.
Routed,
Good deal.
Zone Park right now too for the park district.
Okay.
Where will this work be done?
Oh, it's on State and Franklin Streets?
Okay, so this will be it next week's.
Yep, up the back,
I'm not gonna be here, but this is a budget item, right?
yes,
Okay. And it was budgeted for,
$25,000.
Okay. All right, moving along the agenda, thanks, Emily. Community Development Planning, resolution for the Village of Mahomet Board of Trustees for Brenton B. Fuller Trust subdivision ordinance waiver. Who's taking some, Mr. Brown or
I
Kathy?
will, can you put up the map that shows the ETJ? Not that one, but that one, okay, so, first and foremost. So as you know, we have subdivision jurisdiction within 1.5 miles of our village limits. That pink line that you see is the ETJ. So this property is about 1 mile outside the village limits, about 1/2 mile from the border, so it's definitely in our ETJ. There's already an existing house on it, it's a 10-acre parcel. It's in the same family as the large parcel to the north, the farm parcel, and frankly, it's a big drainage ditch. The portion that what they're hoping to do is just transfer to be part of the farm and not part of the house lot, essentially. So you can see the purple line is the boundary of where they're hoping to split the land. So no new buildable lots are created, but it's taking that ditch line and putting it, it's actually the animals that pasture north of it actually use that. Versus anything on the homestead lot doesn't use that land. So ultimately it would be transferred between. So in this case, we had proposed one methodology for doing this. And that methodology would actually be more expensive for us, more expensive for them. And we had, at that time quoted, it was $1,000. So that's why there's a fee thing in here. But essentially the pieces that they create don't meet our ag sub general requirements. So our ag sub is a process. So is minor rural residential sub is a different process. The ag sub doesn't anticipate development, if you will. So it's our way to break up land, it's less burdensome, it's still a subdivision. You report about a survey, if you will. But in this case, this is putting this small piece that otherwise couldn't be created with the bigger one and just making us smaller. It's very hard to explain, but we want, staff are recommending that we try to process this as an ag sub, not as a rural residential sub, because there is already a house and it's not creating any more lots. So in order,
I'm confused a little bit. So
Okay.
we have this lot, we're making it smaller.
yes,
The excess is gonna be incorporated into the rest of the farm.
yeah, basically by deed, it will end up getting deeded off. So when we do like the plat of survey that makes the two pieces,
Yeah.
okay, one, that skinny piece that's the thing, isn't technically big enough to be an ag piece, but it serves an ag function.
So that's gonna be a separate
It's-
platted section of this, or is that gonna be just converted into the rest of it, so there's still just gonna be two sections?
It is that little piece, the unbuildable stream piece, will be tied by deed to the large 100-acre piece.
Okay.
So we'll make sure that it isn't buildable or sellable in its own right. So it's still only a farm and a house lot. It's just
There's a
taking.
homestead, and then there's the farm, right?
Yeah, so, and
It's got a
really,
home on it, too.
Huh?
Farm has a home on
yeah, I mean, that's that 100-acre piece or something. So one reason for the size requirements for ag,
Hold on, so what is the purpose, maybe I missed it,
It's okay.
and I'm confused, but what is the purpose of doing that? I mean, if it's not buildable lot,
Because they're going to-
buildable lot, anyway.
they're gonna sell the house out of the family, and the stream portion is used by
Farm.
the farm
I got it.
north of it.
Alright,
So,
sorry, I probably missed that.
no, I'm
before.
glad you asked that question. Anything that we do outside of municipality when it comes to subdivisions gets confusing with the processes. and there's
Now it
always-
makes total sense.
Yeah, so it really is used in an ag way. It's not a crop production way. So when we set the minimum requirements for the ag pieces, it was anticipating crop production. So that's why they have to be so many 10 acres and so many feet wide. So in this case, this piece is not very big, but it won't be buildable and it still will only serve an ag function. So processing is an ag related seems to be the most appropriate. It also then could be done through the Administrative Review Committee, because they don't want to, at this point, do it, they're not trying to make anything buildable, so the fees in lieu was a concern, but that gets kicked in, but no new lots are gonna be developed. The process of doing the subdivision, the dedication. Normally the plat of survey, we still, ag subs, still have to dedicate the right of way that's necessary, because they're on, usually they don't have enough. In this case, they would like to delay the dedication of that right of way. It would be in the covenants that would say, when it's annexed in the future, and in our jurisdiction, they would then dedicate it. But in the meantime, it would remain as theirs. I personally believe it's because there is a fence very close to where the new dedication would be. It would become a liability, and actually taxpayer type land for the township with this fence really close to it. So it's actually better for the township at this juncture not to have that land while that fence is there. So that's one of the unique things is to delay that dedication. So they're asking for essentially 3 waivers that would let us process it, like an administrative review committee by the ag sub. They're not asking for any other waivers, it's just a process. It's basically the width of those lots and the size requirements of it. And deferring that right-of-way dedication. We don't have to do it now, but it will, the plat will, the covenants will let it happen later. You know, we feel we made a mistake, and what we told them would be their fee to do it. So in this case, we'd like to suggest just charging them the $1,000 versus the $2,500 that would have applied, because we were going to try to do it with a different process. And this was actually better for both them and us. So it's easier for us, so the higher fee shouldn't be applicable. A little confusing, but any questions?
So option A that wasn't so good is only gonna cost $1,000. Option B that's better for everyone was gonna cost $2,500.
Yeah. So, but it isn't,
Yeah, we had already given them.
we had already told them this, but we believe it's in everybody's best interest to process it this other way. So we then are saying, well, we shouldn't be burdening you with more, because we actually think this is better for, with our requirements and for future dedications later instead of now, because the township doesn't really want the right of way, and some other things. So we're comfortable, and remember, none of the application fees for our subdivisions ever cover all the costs associated with processing. So it's not like all of a sudden you're subsidizing the work before, you're always subsidizing.
Does one fall under when we revise our fee schedules to increase?
Yeah, so we have not proposed fee increases. I think we thought about doing it this year. We're gonna wait till our code goes in, probably next year, and look at the land use fees. We really haven't gotten into these.
Gotcha.
So we haven't had any ag subs.
I didn't know if it fell on that timeline.
Yeah, so, it was kind of upped at the time because we had so many, but we haven't had any since. So we'll know a little bit more. The processing is less now than we even anticipated, if everybody hires the proper people, begins to do that.
So does the waiver or the deferral, does it run with the land if the land is sold? It does run with the land?
Yes, absolutely, yes, and they'll be, I guess I should add, what specifically what waivers are you requesting?
Well, what I'm concerned about is 50 years from now, if that becomes a development and we're granting a waiver or deferral at this point in time, and if it runs with the land, the decision we make now is binding 50 years from now.
Yes, it will run with the land, it's gonna be part of the covenants. both the covenants regarding dedication and the covenant regarding annexation will run with the land. It's gonna be part of the covenants which will be recorded, yes.
And as an ag sub, there's no other requirements, right? But if the developers or if the landowners here wanted to develop a subdivision out there, we're talking about a totally different process, a totally different one. That would involve everything normally that you expect with a subdivision.
Okay, so
Yeah, there's no waiver of, hey, they can come out, 30 years from now and build a 30-lot subdivision and not,
okay, I mean, I don't even anticipate them ever developing that if they own it, I know, but I just wanna make sure.
This is just tied to an agricultural subdivision.
Never say never, Bill.
Well, I know.
Correct, and the specific acre, the smaller acreage that we're discussing.
Right.
Not the big
Not the big,
pieces,
not the big.
because actually
Just
including
that
that,
stream section.
Right, and the house. The house
it'll
faces-
make
yes.
that house legitimate, so say it burns down, they can get they can build it back again.
Yeah.
So it keeps it conforming, so it's still an asset on the land, but just removes this other piece. So nothing new being created, but it keeps it in compliance.
Joe, just a housekeeping question, as far as these deferrals, running with covenants, is there ever an expiration date on those, or is it the life of the?
No, there is no expiration. There is no expiration.
In fact, they keep stacking. I will mention, so while this has been a request, it has been an official request, it has not officially, the owner itself has not signed anything that has actually applied and requested it. So as such, you should not place this on consent because we don't have an actual kind of application from the actual owner. They were awaiting your decision here. So the resolution is as if we get that piece and you approve all waivers. That's how the draft is set up. But your feedback, we could modify the resolution in advance for next week or provide them guidance. So, but we will need to know what you're applying for to proceed, because they need to know that answer.
Joe, do we need action to put it on the regular agenda, or can we just inform staff to have it up here again?
I'm sorry, Mayor.
Do we need a motion, do we need an actual action for the resolution to go on the regular agenda, or we just say, staff, bring this back to us?
I don't think you need to take formal action and move it to regular agenda, because it would just go to regular
If
agenda.
you just put it on regular, if you take action, put it on regular agenda, at least it would give us confirmation that you're okay with it.
That you're okay with those 3 waivers, if not some
So I
kind of
suggest
strong,
you just make a motion to put it on the regular agenda.
Sure.
maybe as presented, and that would help
Okay.
them know.
Any other technical questions for staff? All right, entertain a motion to move the resolution to the regular agenda as presented with the waivers to appear at our regular board meeting.
Second.
Oliver and Colby, motion been made, second, any public comment on this? Roll call?
Metzger,
Yes.
Kohlrabi,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes, ma'am.
Parks,
Yes.
Lynn,
Yes.
Oliver.
All right, second one there, resolution for Village of Mahomet Board of Trustees, Thomas Perkins subdivision ordinance waiver.
And you get to the part with the map of the ETJ as well. So, there you go. Okay, little bit different. Okay, again, this is actually a large piece of farmland. It's 60 some odd acres and it has a homestead on it. You can very clearly see what is the homestead area versus the portion in ag. It is at our limits of the ETJ. The developed portion, the homestead, they are hoping to break off essentially from the ag piece to sell it as a homestead lot, but as a size that's less than 10 acres. So that's where that ag size comes into play again. And so this one is a little bit of an anomaly. We were struggling a little bit with this as staff. No new lots are going to be created. Most of the parent parcel, if you will, is not even in the ETJ. It's outside of it. But there is, the majority of the homestead piece is in the ETJ. So we felt it required and advisable to proceed and say, yes, our subdivision ordinance does apply. It is in our ETJ. So what the desire is to plat, do a plat of survey, begin the ag subdivision process, which becomes an administrative review committee process. It doesn't create any new lots. It still has the annexation portion in it. They would also like just to delay that dedication of right-of-way. Again, the township, when it's gonna happen in a long time from now, they don't really want that land right now. We may want it later as improvements are warranted. It is important with ditches. When you do roll cross sections, you have a full width. But really, the township doesn't want it when we get, and if we get out to that area, it would be, they would still comply and give it to us then, so the village would not have to purchase it in order to do any widening. This fee, this is the ag sub fee, this is $2,500. In this case, they're requesting a full waiver of it. We kind of support that. This is a kind of a judgment call on whether they should really have to do the subdivision or whether we could give up our rights to do that, but it is better, cleaner for everybody to secure all our interests. Their interests in making sure they have good title and a buildable piece of land again, and the village has the security in the future. And so waiving our rights entirely would not be in our best interest either. So it's kind of as a mutual benefit in this case to actually be processing it this way.
When you say release that, you're talking about going to the county instead of.
Yeah, right. So when the big piece is primarily not in our ETJ, and ETJ, while precise, is also a little bit arbitrary on how you draw it from exterior points. So here, there could have been slight justification, depending on it, that, hey, you know what, they could really probably just deed this off, go through the county subdivision. However, the village does have an interest in this. It is technically the developed portion, the homestead portion is in our ETJ. So really, this enables us to have some say over it versus giving it up. So it's better for us. It's not just a benefit to them. And that's why we as staff, like, well, in this case, you're barely in there. We can see a mutual benefit towards this activity. And maybe then staff could feel comfortable kind of supporting the waiver of that application fee in this instance. So that's one of the more unique ones again. But similar concepts to the other one, but this is barely in. Yeah, granted, all it takes is one guy that draws it wrong. I mean, that's how you figure out these things are. So it comes up with a 5.3 acre typically, your ag pieces have to be 10. So in this case, they'd like to keep as much of the productive farmland in production. So, which is actually consistent with the county's land use and sustainability goals in their long-term planning. So if we were to do it in 10 acres, more of that land that could otherwise be in farmland production would be part of the house that's already existing. So it kind of helps support the county's efforts as well to lead as much cropland into production as possible. Any questions?
Same concept, it runs with the land, correct?
Yep, so that's how we're securing our interests is through this process, and yet not putting too much undue burden.
And nothing is waived as far as developments or anything like that?
Yeah, if they
No.
want to develop land out there in the future, then that's a different process. Just keep it.
In fact, it doesn't touch, the boundary of this is only the piece of the homestead. So the rest of it, anything they want to do there, they have to have us. Any other questions? This one we do have an official request, and if you support those waivers, the resolution is set up that way, And it could be, taken to consent as it is presented, and would not be inappropriate.
Any technical questions or comments for staff? Bruce, no? I saw your hand there. All right. Entertain a motion to move this resolution to consent agenda.
Second.
Lynn and Harps, motion been made second. Any public comment? Roll call?
Kohlrabi,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes, ma'am.
Harps.
Yep.
Lynn,
Yes.
Oliver,
Yes.
Metzger.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Kelly. Mr. Brown, your report?
All right, any questions on water, wastewater? As I said in my, in the car show last week, I did want to thank, all of our transportation and water and sewer, crew for all their assistance and helping the downtown ready. A lot of weed pulling and new mulch down and mowing and everything else, so.
I was gone this weekend. How many cars did we have there?
Since last year, 270.
266 was the register count. There were probably more than that here, but that's how many they had registered.
A little bit different layout to where last year, I think Sangamon lot was much more full. Nick was saying that there's a lot more cars out here in the shade.
We did, we put a lot out here, and the change to the striping and everything in the community center and firehouse lot over here allowed more cars to go in there and a little bit more efficiently too, because we parked them in the spaces. So,
All right,
yeah, well.
anything on transportation?
Sorry, I lost it. I was out of town. Yeah. It always is. Yeah, for that car show.
Anything on transportation side?
You want to just give us an update on staffing?
Yeah. So I was just gonna ask.
Did we figure out, Robert, when the superintendent's job's done? He posted it, or is that Monday? I think it's Monday.
Closes Monday?
We think that closes Monday. We've got a few applicants.
I was just gonna ask about giving names or anything like that, obviously, but we had some.
Not a lot.
It's a small handful of applicants. About a year ago, we started using a vendor that allows us to post jobs online on Monster, Glassdoor, Indeed. One of the problems that we ran into is a lot of municipalities require their actual applications to be filled out as basically a legal document, saying that this is my work history, this is where I live, my name, all that, and then they sign it. They don't do that for the online portion. So I learned at one of the conferences what some municipalities do is if they invite someone to an interview, they have them fill out that application either before or after the interview. So we have that document as part of their application process, as part of the fair and balanced hiring. So we're gonna take that approach with some candidates.
And position for water and sewer, maintenance person for water and sewer, that is closed out.
That is closed.
So we'll look at people probably in the next couple of days, probably some work on TIF stuff, so we'll look at that.
So Eric's position closes Monday.
And as always, we keep things open, if we still want to allow more time, because we worry about quality of the applicants or quantity. We'll sometimes keep it posted on our website and say the position remains open until full filled. So that all depends on what's been kind of reviewed.
Okay.
Engineering, questions around the 70 Acres Road is open.
We opened it very quietly on Friday.
Soft opening.
Soft opening. Got a final inspection coming up on Friday with IDOT. And I was talking to Dawn, we're gonna, in September probably, maybe into August, depends on the weather, do some manicuring on the earthworm ditches and stuff out there.
All under budget.
I'm under budget right now. So I can, that extra work is gonna be done outside of the contract, but we'll still be within that budget.
Any feedback, good, bad, or indifferent from the residents along the way about the gravel shoulders?
they really haven't been saying much about it. Now, I had an interesting conversation today with CCG, they're gonna be doing the fiber there. They're a little worried about, you know, how to not destroy that in the process of what they're doing, so they have a little problem to solve. But yeah, but most of the people seem pretty happy and road's nice and smooth and looks beautiful with the paint on it.
There's a little bit safer area to walk on there now with the shoulders added. So.
Yeah, somebody called it like, I don't know what it was, called the sidewalk shoulders or something. Not allowed to call it that, I don't know. But,
This might be for Jimmy, but maybe Ellen, it's still your project. Maybe I'd suggest maybe putting some flags on top of the stop signs. I
they're
think
still new?
it's new, and actually, I drove today.
I blew it twice.
Someone blew it, so.
Allegedly.
Stop in and pull it out.
Okay. I may or may not have rolled with a check. Delete that.
We can do that.
I can't, it's video.
But I can confirm that people were like, you know what, when you build this road wider and smoother and everything, people are gonna drive way too fast. And I can confirm that that's happening. I got somebody on the job. Because we do have the sign. We put the sign, we moved it from Country Ridge up to Sunny Acres. And yeah, I see people going, 37 and.
Anytime you
So
widen and smooth,
It's smooth. It's not really, I don't think it's really the widened concept because the
It's just that's a better road.
the shoulders don't look like something you wanna drive on.
but it feels wider because of the vegetation always also.
You think? That's.
Yeah, that's true.
Are any
It
other
does,
questions?
visually, it's visually.
You said that, yeah, there are
I
actually.
like the flags.
Final inspection with IDOT's when?
Friday.
Is it a common practice to open up the road before a final inspection?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and that's fine, I just didn't know.
The public would prefer that.
Yeah, I was
That's
getting-
ready to be open it.
I was getting really antsy the last month because people
But
were like, they
yes and
weren't
no,
seeing
but the
anything
public
getting
prefer
done.
that it's certified to be safe before it's
So
open.
I told them, so.
I don't care, I just think that's common.
Any questions on Parks and Rec? Do you have anything big to say?
Just check them out.
Soccer registration's done?
It's done. I think I went out a road report, it might have been in a weekly report, we had the exact same number of kids, which was really weird. But since then, we've added some. So we're gonna be up from last year on soccer. Our next summer concert is August 9th. Jack Freeze Band, not JT's, Chester's Barbecue. And Denise is working hard on it, I forget the other two food trucks, but she's on it. Yeah, chugging along, duck race is coming. Bruce can tell you about that.
And just a reminder, we didn't do one in July, because we learned our lesson last year, it was
Too hot, and everybody goes to Fish and Fair.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Spend some money up there.
Well, I heard that vein is really good, so.
Yeah.
It's hard to compete with donkey
They were
races.
good last
Yeah, come on.
Exactly. But while I'm here, we will, I said it earlier, but we are gonna be bringing to your attention the OSLAD application soon for Barber Park, so I just wanna make sure that it's in your back of your head and you're looking out for that. I think we're gonna have to, based on the timeline of the grant submittal, we're gonna have to have a special meeting on, what did I tell you, August 13th, before your study session, so trying to cram everything in there, so I apologize in advance for that, but I want you guys to be able to digest that now, and when you see it, take a look.
So typically, when you apply for a grant like that, you have to pass a resolution support.
Yeah, nothing uncommon, just time-wise, it didn't fit well with your regular board schedule.
All right, any questions for the chief?
Looks like everything from what was posted on the Facebook page went well with the training on Sunday. Good turn. Good.
How was the one halfway through summer SRO transition? How's he doing as far as coming back? 'Cause he's on the regular duty now.
He's working the
duty.
street, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. monthly.
And when does he go back to school? Same day?
Sometime
Kids.
in August, now a little earlier probably, because they've got meetings and things. And some staff training, that sort of thing.
And I do like what Officer Bragg has done in stepping up your Facebook game too, and your social media game. It's,
You know,
it's cool. It's
it was a brilliant, a stroke of brilliance on my part.
well, to delegate that to her.
Yeah, because, you know, I would tell people, let's lock your stuff up, and she
Yeah.
says it nicely.
She does. She does.
So, you know.
And just some of the other things that she's posting and sharing on there, I think it's great PR for you guys.
She's doing her own.
Yeah,
Humanized.
exactly. I like how she's got a profile of a different officer from time to time too, so you can put names and faces together and all
Perfect match.
that.
Back in social media.
Kelly was slapping and she.
All right, so,
Mine's a little
under,
carpenter.
under other business, Joe, I think is gonna talk about this one.
Sure, thank you, Patrick. So a couple of months ago, as you may all recall, we were directed to pursue annexation of certain portions of Lakeview 7, Lakeview Northeast, and Lakeview 6 subdivision. These were parcels that have within their covenants, you've heard this before tonight, within their covenants, what we call annexation kickers or mandatory annexation provisions. So I sent out 2 rounds of letters. There's approximately 39, 40 lots total in this area that have these covenants. We read the covenants to make certain they have these particular provisions. So far, the village has received 18 signed petitions so far, of which the particular ordinance that you have in front of you for action, hopefully next Tuesday, encompasses 11 of those parcels. We obviously can only annex in this process those parcels that are contiguous. So some folks have signed petitions that are not yet contiguous, so we can't take action just yet. So this particular ordinance contemplates annexation of 11 parcels. We sent notices to the township as required by law. One thing that's a little interesting wrinkle is that one of the particular homeowners promptly signed their petition after the first letter, but then proceeded to sell their house. And we learned recently that they sold their house. So I'm in conversation with the new owner. I think there's a way we can solve this. Like I said, in conversation with the new owner to see if they'll sign a new petition. If they're unwilling to, quite frankly, we still have a valid petition on file that was executed by the owner of record when they were the owner of record. So I think we can find a resolution to this. Again, I'm going to have another conversation with them later this week here. So I'm happy to entertain any questions about the process as a whole or about the specific ordinance that you have in front of you.
Joe, based on previous, discussions, your approach here is as they come, we'll kind of just move through the contiguous part of this. So we're not gonna wait until everybody, it's just, now you have a good chunk. This one kind of on the board, and that's kind of what the direction was to Joe as far as staff. Once we have a good portion of them, move forward with that and wait for the next little chunk to come through, essentially. We're not gonna do one at a time, essentially, or not all at one time either.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, that's been sort of a judgment call. We could do it one at a time. That would be much more expensive, much more labor intense. There's no reason to do that. Likewise, we could have waited till everyone was done. That, quite frankly, it could take too much time. It was easier to sort of, I call it chunk it up. Take a manageable portion of, these are the folks that have signed petitions that are contiguous. It's a naturally compact area. Fine, let's take action on those, get them annexed, and then work on the next group. So yeah, there's sort of a natural flow to this.
If we don't get any signed petitions from folks that it's in the covenants that they're annexed and they don't sign the petition that we sent to them, what do we do? What happens?
What would happen eventually, or?
Well, what would happen eventually, do we just forcibly take them in? I don't know, forcibly is not a good word to think, but how would that work?
Yeah, okay, so if in some time from now, we are no longer successful in getting voluntary compliance, yes, the village can take legal action by way of, quite bluntly, Mr. Trustee, a lawsuit. where the village sues the individual owners and enforces the covenants in a court of law.
Okay.
That's not our first choice at all, but the village absolutely has that right. I will also tell you that that has been done in other municipalities in Champaign County before. And we have the right to do that. We're prepared to do that if necessary.
Yeah, okay.
It could be, I mean, for the homeowner, it'd be a costly endeavor.
Yeah.
The court, legal fees for both sides.
And the homeowners should know coming into it when they buy a house, build a house, or built the house originally, whatever, that was part of the covenants of that subdivision, that was gonna happen eventually.
Well, it's in their covenants.
Yeah.
It's right there in their covenants.
Yeah. So it's not like they're blindsided by this.
I can entertain any more questions. I would ask that this not be on the consent agenda. And whether you need that by just an action to move it to regular agenda or just direct staff to put it on regular agenda. Either way is fine.
We'll just be consistent, so. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns? All right. Entertain a motion to move this ordinance to the regular agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Harps and Colby, or was it Johnson's? All right, motion made and second. Any public comment on this one? Roll call?
Johnson,
Yes, ma'am.
Parks.
Yes.
Lynn.
Yes.
Oliver.
Yes.
Metzger,
Yes.
Colbrady.
Yes.
All right, we have our remaining meeting there on the 23rd. Any absence or planned vacation or anything? That's good. All right. Other stuff, before new business, just to give you guys an update as far as, where I'm at in the process of the Economic Development Commission. We had 2 meetings on June 26th and July 10th. And the purpose of those meetings was to discuss the mission and vision of EDC and try to come to grips as far as what we want to try to accomplish with that commission. So where we're at in the process, we had a pretty productive meeting here recently on the 10th. And the action forward is to investigate kind of a little bit different makeup of that, I'm gonna call it committee moving forward. As far as what they would be in charge of or at least oversee. So right now, we're still seeing input from other stakeholders involved. That includes village staff as well. And right now, I'd say we're not even crawling yet. We're still really in that exploratory phase with that. So we'll see how that comes together, and also make a report once we kind of get to the finish line, I guess, if we're gonna do anything at all. Which, do nothing is always an option, so just want to give you guys an update on that. Any new business from trustees?
I've got something. I don't know if, and this is just kind of an FYI, on June 27th, I was contacted by someone who said they heard rumors there was a fish kill on the Sangamon River. I don't know if people are aware of that. I got a hold of a contact I got at DNR, and he said that was in fact the case. They were called out on the 25th. They notified the EPA, Illinois EPA, who did not show up. DNR was back out there on the 26th. It was about 9,700 dead fish.
Wow, 9,700?
9,700, yeah.
Where at?
Where?
It looked like it started about 3475 north.
Which is where?
Approximately.
County line almost.
Yeah.
They didn't show up on the 26th either after they were called the second time. Somebody contacted someone from EPA, and I don't know if this was their official statement, but they said that the water level was too high. But USRC was out there in the water at Sangamon River on the 29th because we were doing an invertebrate monitoring, and we had no trouble with the water levels. So I don't think that was,
So they don't really have. So we don't have a reason for it then right now?
No.
Other than water level too high?
No.
Okay.
So, I suspect that it's either underfunding or a lack of prioritizing or some combination of the two. But if you see one of your representatives asking to put a little pressure on the EPA to look at our river.
I haven't heard that until lunchtime.
Yeah.
You'd think that would get out, that many fish.
Depends on when they end up being.
And how long the stretch of it was?
13 miles.
Wow.
Wow.
13 miles.
Okay, any other new business?
I have a question. Todd Brady was in here. Did we ever follow back up with him?
We, Ken and I went out there, but I was on vacation, Ken's been on vacation last 2 weeks, so we'll follow up with him
Follow up with him after.
after Ken gets back next week.
I'll be back on Monday. He was out of the state.
That was the drainage in the backyard, single.
Yeah. I'm not gonna be here next week, so can one of you guys please ask during the meeting for feedback for that? Thank you. Thank you.
I can make sure. I mean, I can watch the regular asking for.
And we did find out some new stuff.
I just wanna make sure that we're getting back to him. He made an effort to come here. He stated his case, and we owe him an explanation or a conclusion to it.
Yeah. And something else for Ken, since he's coming back, I've noticed over the last couple of weeks, a lot of limbs and brush and whatnot in the right of ways already, and there's not a pickup for what, another good 3 weeks?
No,
Lovely. Okay.
Well,
there's a drop off on the 20th,
okay,
Public Works,
But-
correct?
if it's in the right of way, people aren't gonna, that doesn't mean they're gonna bring it to the drop off.
Right.
No, that is.
Matter of fact, there's an entire tree on Deer Run Drive right
Yeah, I
now,
saw
the
that.
corner of Deer Run and Hawk.
Okay. So on some of those.
It's been there for about a week.
It's kind of this joint responsibility. Eric used to also see some of those. I don't know if you've discussed some of this with Jimmy, yet and how they're gonna do that. I'll get Ken.
And there's a certain property on Division right across from Middletown Park that seems to be a repeat.
We love repeats.
I see stuff there all the time there.
Okay.
I did talk to Ken, some of this work can be contracted with Tommy A, they just haven't picked it up yet.
Right.
But
And that's,
the one in my neighborhood just appeared. They just took a tree down like a week or two ago.
yeah, that's one thing that we have to be kind of.
And
we
it's
try
right
to
at
be
the edge of the
careful with.
road, so that could be a safety hazard. Stuff
Yeah.
drifts out into the road too.
Okay.
Why are we taking down trees that are ash trees that full leafed out?
I don't think, I've looked at every one that he's taken down, and I would
There's
not.
2 of them I seen taken down today that fully leafed out.
Well, one was not at the top, it was, at the top of the one on Morel Court was, yeah, what?
Deeper in my subdivision.
Yeah, Morel Court's in your subdivision.
That circle.
Yeah, and then the homeowner requested both of you taken down. So just like when we did the ash tree removal program, I'd say 90% of what we took down, 80 or 75% of what we took down were fully removed. So we made a conscious effort to take them out ahead of when they were going to, the different neighborhoods started getting worse. Because when they're not leaked out and they start becoming hollow and they're very difficult for the.
Well, they should be down once they start going. I've got one of my house where you go
The right way.
No, my back door.
Yeah, we found in your neighborhood, there were several that were treated, we have 4 today that were being treated and the tree was not working. So,
Which we gave them the option.
give the option. We probably in total, in the last 2 years, we've removed over a dozen that were wanted off the list because they're treated.
Mr. Harps, you have one more thing?
Yeah, I do have one, which reminds me, this weekend at the car show, I was asked if there was a plan to replace some of the trees that have been removed along Main Street here.
This fall.
Okay, and actually, it was a former trustee that asked me that.
Now's not a good time, obviously.
Well, yeah. Okay.
We'll probably send letters out in the summer, later in the summer, later on in the summer.
But some of the areas right in here, we're wondering about, just for the aesthetics of Main Street and stuff.
we won't do any tree planting on what we've got on Main Street.
Oh,
There's no reason.
that's what I was asking specifically
Yeah,
about.
with the downtown master plan, there's no reason to, it'll look different when we redo that section of Main Street. There's no reason to plant a tree down.
Okay.
Our subdivision assessed everybody $100 and went ahead and planted new trees there. All of them taken down last year, the patch, down on the boulevard. It looks pretty good. It's coming out pretty good.
Any other new business? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Johnson and Metzger, roll call.
Parks?
Yep.
Min?
Yes.
Collier?
Yes.
Metzger?
Yes.
Colby?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes, ma'am.